Can I move that we suspend standing orders at this point to allow the Raunds library people to address the meeting? Yeah. Second, yeah? All in favour? Yeah. Okay. Peter, is this you again?
It is indeed, I'm afraid. Sorry about that. Okay. Hopefully you've all got a copy of the notes there. I thought it's sort of handy for you to have that to take away rather than trying to remember all the blurb I'm going to say. We're in a curious situation. NCC seem to be making the whole process extremely complicated. Now, they're planning to close the library on the 30th of this year, 30th of September this year. Raunds Library will cease. Raunds is a town set to grow by 1/3 with the planning permission that's already granted. So we're a growing town. And as far as NCC are concerned, we will be without a library. Now, they've set up a process for judging whether we're suitable to run an independent library. And I emphasise the word independent library. NCC have made it very clear that an independent library is nothing to do with them. They are not prepared to back community libraries, not just for us in Raunds, but throughout the county. So it's not them picking on us. There's a set of questions which are quite complicated. Not the questions on the second sheet that I've given you, there are questions to them. And these questions will be judged by 2 panels, and they will be judged on a pass or fail basis. We will be informed whether we have passed or failed some time, and I emphasise some time, and I'm quoting their words, after the 2nd of August this year. Bear in mind when they're closing the library, 30th of September. The panel members, I haven't been able to find out if there are 2 different lots, will be the portfolio holder for libraries. I've slightly misworded it, it's in the next bit there. Another councillor and some senior officers from NCC. What qualifications they will have for judging whether we can run a library, I do not know. If we fail, if they deemed us to have failed, then we have the right of appeal. Exactly how that process is going to take place, we have no information. We gather from something that Richard Eaton Harris has worked out that the appeal panel will be the leader of the council and the finance director of NCC. If we're either successful or we're successful at the appeal, whichever, and we pass to stage 3, at which they'll want a full business plan, an individual project plan to show affordability, key milestone projects and dates of implementation. I emphasise, they're closing our library and they want all this. Why? I've then gone on to give sort of 6 questions, 6 examples of the sorts of questions that they want information on, and written information, not just, saying, oh yes, we'll have that in place. Well, they actually want it in writing. There are in fact 18 questions. I've just put 6 down there rather than trying to go through all 18. That would be just too much. If you look at question 6, that's about finances. What are our finances as a group? Well, we don't exist. We may never come into existence. Well, we will actually, because we've applied for charitable incorporated organisation status. I mean, one has to do that to sort of get going. But in general terms, if this deal doesn't go ahead, we won't exist. So how can we have finances? We can't have a bank account until we've heard from the Charity Commission. We've applied, obviously, and their waiting time is something like
40 to 60 days.
40 to 60 days to get a response back. We've no reason to believe that it won't be granted, but we can't have a bank account until we are formally set up. And this is not just for us in Raunds, which obviously is our concern, obviously, but this is for all the groups across the county, all 21 libraries that are closing. What are they doing? They're talking about the purchase of the building. Well, you yourselves have very kindly said that you are willing to look at the purchase of the building, obviously subject to coming to suitable arrangements with NCC. Should they be asking those questions of yourselves? I don't know. We've got no money. So it's just curious. They then want a vision for Raunds Library. There are 7 actual questions. I put 6 down. And on each of those sections, they want our answers, and they'll be judged on a pass or fail basis. No more than 350 words per question. Some mathematician can work out how many words that is. Well, I'm an English teacher, so I'm sure I can manage a few words. You can see what they are. What will be our opening hours and our rationale for choosing these? They're closing the damn thing. Excuse me. They want to know what our rationale is for choosing whatever opening hours. We'll be open as long as we can. We have a good core of volunteers. Our concern, I should say, with regard to our volunteers is the longer this process drags on, the more volunteers could be excused, thinking, oh, well, it's all gone away. It's all fallen by the wayside. That would be an understandable human reaction. So we've got the people, we've got the skills. Within the management group, we've got the skills. We've got our own separate legal advisor. What plan do we have for selecting and maintaining the library stock? Well, I can bluntly say it'll be nothing to do with NCC if we go ahead, because we're talking to Cambridge. The head of Cambridge Library Service is being very, very helpful. How will we manage the daily work? What on earth are they asking these? And they've got 350 words on that one alone. What's it all about? What are they doing? If I turn over a page. Now, the one bit we did get some success with is the financial spreadsheet. They want to know our month-on-month anticipated costs. Well, how the heck do we do that? Well, what we did is we took NCC's figures that they provided for their annual running cost and extrapolated those over 12 months. Our financial guy, he's retired now, but he's an ex-finance officer. He's done that, so we've got something. Hopefully they can't fail those because they're based on NCC figures. But watch this space, I don't know. What have we done so far? Well, we've got our officers and we've got our roles. We've got a constitution. I mentioned the Charity Commission application. We've got a wide range of policies in place. I can't remember the exact number, but I think NCC want actual written policies. I think it's about 8 or 9 separate policies. Well, okay, we've got them. We're making the point that they are initial policies based on experience we're gaining from Cambridge Library Service other libraries that we've been to visit around the region. We've been to the National Communities Libraries Conference in Sheffield. Phil and I both went up there, and we got a lot of help and information from them. So yes, we've got the written policies, but like any policy, they're a starting point. Will that be acceptable? We just don't know. I mentioned that we keep our links. We've got a good links now with the National Library Task Force and the CEO of the Society of Chief Librarians. In fact, I emailed him some of my thoughts earlier this afternoon. Most of them were printable, but there we are. Manor School, here in Raunds. We went and had a talk with the principal, and he was 100% on board. He sees it as a fantastic opportunity for his young people, as Councillor Hughes mentioned at one of your council meetings, for young people wanting to do community service to perhaps be of help there. We've talked with their librarian, because what we'll probably have to end up doing is what I've done in schools in the past, is put in a discrete library lending service, a computer service, which you can buy off the shelf. So we would be looking at probably using the same system that Manor School have, which would help us with training, advice, any glitches and so on and so forth. We're joining an organisation of 21 libraries that are going to be closed in the area, purely to share information and experience. We've got a meeting here next Friday with Tom Burscliffe, who we've kept fully in the loop. And I have to say, feels totally exasperated, I think I can say that on his behalf, with what's going on. Unfortunately, I won't be able to be at that meeting. It's Sue's eldest lad's wedding, so I'm conscripted to be elsewhere. So, yeah, what's the reasoning behind all of this? Now, the cynic in me comes out now. You have got your neighbourhood plan, and in that plan the library is deemed a community asset, as it rightly should be. If NCC deem us to fail, there is nobody to run a community asset, so it no longer perhaps could be deemed a community asset, which might make the site saleable at commercial rates as opposed to community asset rates. I mean, that's me being totally a cynic now. I hope I'm wrong. But watch this space. We're ready to go. We appreciate all the work and all this sort of support we're getting from your good selves. And I know Kate has been making lots of inquiries to try and sort of move things forward. We're ready. We feel that the library in Raunds is a vital community asset. Not just for the books, although that's an important part, but for the use that so many groups make of it in terms of their sort of work, their research, so on. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Peter. Does anybody have any questions for Peter?
Well, I have a question. I'm thoroughly embarrassed, by the way, at the County Council. I have to say.
I can understand that.
Has gone about it because there was there's a change of the cabinet members responsible. I haven't really got a clue about the whole thing. If you want my opinion, you can record that if you want. I don't really care because I've said so.
Can I suggest not?
But what I will do is there's a council meeting next week. And if you're around tomorrow morning, I will make a question to put to the cabinet meeting,
please.
The council meeting in public. What are they going to do about this? Because this is just absurd. They want you to be independent. Go away.
Yeah.
If they wanted to run a community library, then it's quite reasonable to ask. You know all sorts of rules.
Yes.
So if you're going to be an independent library, apart from you undertake that if you cease to have the library as a library, within 12 months, you've got to let's go back to them. I mean, like if you lease anything or buy anything, you know, that'd be reasonable. Apart from that, why don't you just let you get on with it? And why are they wasting time, effort and money when they haven't got any money on making all these stupid rules, really?
Well, quite. I mean, you're absolutely right. I could understand many of these questions coming from yourselves at some point in time. That I would regard as perfectly right and proper. You know, if you proceed with the purchase of the building and sort of hopefully lease it to us at a miserly rent. Tons.
The only question I think they could reasonably say is if they give over the library or sell the library at a reasonable price, that it has to remain a library for 10 years and not be sold on, you know, for property development. And that's what you do, isn't it? If you do that. But apart from that, I don't see why they want anything to do with it. Why don't they just let you get on with it, quite frankly?
Well, they actually have put an overage clause in the terms. So yeah.
But I will ask. But
thank you very much.
Tomorrow I'll speak to you.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Howell.
Yeah, thank you, Peter.
That's right.
Yeah, I had a look through the questions that are quite bizarre, really, aren't they? One of the things that struck me, obviously, today, I was at planning appeal at East Northants representing the Nag's Head, and that's gone to, you know, don't talk about that.
Yeah.
Yes, as you know, that's been an ongoing nightmare for 16 years. However, the parish are registering it as an asset of community value, although we've got it registered as a community asset within our neighbourhood plan. I'm not sure we've registered it as an asset of community value.
No, not so.
And I think that's something either the library group in conjunction with the parish town council, or vice versa, the town council in conjunction with supporting evidence from the library group, we should do, because that will keep it for 5 years, that it cannot, and the library group get first option on it. It cannot be sold. I think that's something we really need to do now.
I totally agree.
Yeah, to try and protect it even further.
If I may, I would totally agree with you on that. I did make some initial inquiries, but I'm not sure whether we are the right group to do it or
Either or.
I'm happy to discuss with Kate.
No, it's quite straightforward to do. So
Takes
I can
8
do
weeks.
that, and if I have any queries, I can come back to council.
Yeah.
Okay, so leave it to the clerk to do that.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I propose we'll definitely do that.
Yeah. That's a
Good
good idea. Councillor Wilkes.
Thanks, Joe. Well done for all your hard work. I know you are persevering. I know I say it every time, but you have the full support, as we have minuted.
Thank you.
Of the council. We really are committed to doing anything we can. There's 3 judicial reviews, from my understanding at the moment, with regards to closing of the libraries. So there's an individual I know that's taken out a judicial review, which is admirable. I think Desborough Library may have done their own. But then there is a solicitor representing 20 other libraries. Do you know, or 20 other library groups? Are you one of those, do you know?
We are joining that group, yes.
Fabulous. Okay.
Yes. Yes, I believe there are 2 JRs. One was supposed to be in London either this week or next, but it's been moved to Birmingham, I believe, now. We're not quite sure when. Going back to a point that Councillor Hughes made, I mean, obviously, yes, it would have been nice if NCC didn't have to close the libraries. That's not a battle we're per se fighting. If the JR comes up with a, you know, saying no, you shouldn't close any of the libraries, then okay, that's fine. We're, rather than try to divide our efforts into that, we're thinking, okay, let's look at worst case scenario. Let's keep something here for Raunds.
Councillor Duff.
These dates, the 30th September, the 25th of June, the 2nd of August, are these set in stone now, or are they movable still?
As far as I'm aware, they are set in stone. One of the questions that we did ask on this other sheet that's there is that given that we will not know if we've passed or failed until some time, I emphasise those 2 words, after the 2nd of August, so it could be the 30th of August or God knows when. We did make the point that that gives us very little time to prepare for stage 3, is there any possibility of bringing forward a time when we'll be notified of pass or fail? That's a question that has gone to NCC. We haven't had a response, other than a generic response to say we will try to answer your questions within 5 working days, where possible. So that may mean that we get answers to some and not others.
See, because I'm looking at the dates, and if every library put in their questionnaires and their answers and finance packs and everything else, Dirt's working days, from that date, I know they've said some time, because they don't know when they're going to read everything up. They can't do each library on a day's basis. They can't turn around and say, I'm going to look at all the finance stuff for Raunds in one day on those panels. I can't see them doing an honest review of any pack that goes through. I think they not gave themselves enough time as well. I think it's a too short a period for anybody.
I'm sure you're right, but it is what it is. Councillor Beck.
These loopholes, well not loopholes, these hoops you have to jump through, I should say. Is this all to do with the fact you want to buy the library? So if you had a building somewhere and you wanted to start your own library, would you be going through the same challenges? Is it just because we need, or we're trying to buy that building that all this is in place?
The simple answer is yes. If we turned around and said, right, okay, close that building as a library. Fine, forget it. Close it. Do what you want with it. We'll open a library in Saxon Hall.
Yes, private sector, yeah.
I mean, some organisations have even been looking at using their local church as a library. I have to say they tend to be smaller places than Raunds. But yes, after, then, well, it's absolutely nothing to do with NCC. We would have to set up a service level agreement to get stock. Okay, that could be with NCC in a totally separate building, or it could be with Cambridge, who certainly at the moment would be our preferred option, simply because we get help from them.
So there's potentially other options then that we've got, potentially?
Realistically, no. I have to say. Unless, in my view, trying to open a library in, let's just take Saxon Hall as an example. Well, one, it would be rather small. 2, it would tie up one of your halls on a permanent basis. Now, that would be a decision for yourselves, not for me. I think it would limit what we could do, what we could offer the town.
I'm mindful of the time, so
yes, sorry.
The last question.
Yeah, if I may, just coming back on that, Mr. Chairman, if I may, the reason it's so important to keep the library where it is because NCC provides statutory children's services, and if the library is moved from anywhere else other than that venue, we might not qualify for the statutory children's services. So that is why I think we're trying so hard to keep it there, so that those services can still be provided. Otherwise, we will lose them entirely.
Yes.
Just to point that out.
No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, well, Peter, thank you very much.
No, thank you very much.
Very helpful. Slightly scary, but
we are determined.
But we are where we are. I mean,
yeah.
We're going to work within the rules that have been set for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I move that we reinstate standing orders?